Okay. Um, Welcome everybody. Welcome to today's class. And today we are just going to revise some things we've already done, or with some topics we've already treated, right? And I will point out some things I noticed about some of your tasks that you guys submitted, right? So we're going to look at Paystack Webhook. Then we're also going to look at how to uh, integrate Flutterwave if possible, right? Um, then if there's also still going to be time, we'll look at sockets.io again. And then the next thing I'll talk about is um, what I observe about your task. I think what I need to even talk about first is what I observe. So I noticed you guys usually like using maybe product name. If I say save a product name, find the product name. Sorry, if save a product and then look for that product. Or maybe there's a feature that has to do with looking for a product or for a record. Instead of using the ID to that record or the record's ID, right? You want to use the name of the record or another field in the record to find that particular record, which is not good practice, because if you're doing that, then it means that each record uh will have a unique name. Okay, each record will have a unique name, and if the records don't have a unique name, then finding one might only find the first created record, right? For example, uh some in one of the tasks, also the one that has to do with creating brand and using the brand to register products. I know some people um made it that you supply the product name and then on the back end it goes to look for the product ID for that product name, and then replaces it and the rest, and it works. But the best thing to do is when so when you're returning a list of brands to front end, for example, you're returning that list of brand with the brand ID. So what happens on front end is that front end will load, if it's maybe like a drop down that the user has to select a particular brand, the inner HTML for that brand will be the brand name. Okay, let me show you guys what I'm talking about for you to better understand. I think I'll need to stop sharing my screen and then I'll share yeah, I'll share this last screen. Okay. So in essence, this is what I mean. Um, so let's take, for example, okay. So let's take, for example, we have the brand that's coming from backend, something like this. Let's say it's an array, and then it's an array of objects. And of course, the object will contain underscore ID to be maybe something like 24 characters. I don't know. Let me see if I can just query to get a random. Okay, yeah. Okay, this querying another instance of the same code that's running. Sorry, let me kill other instances of the backend that is running. So we Okay, so we are back here. This where I was. Nope. Right. Let me just clear this part. Okay. Now let's say we have maybe an ID like this, then we have something like brand name, and then we have created art to be new date. And we also have updated art to be new date, right? Then maybe we have another branch, but this is F. So we will start 8A. So this would be maybe brand 2. So something like that, for example, right? Then let's say you're rendering this on HTML. So you want to write something like this. You would have a select, and then in that select, you have options. Of course, you might want to look through the options. So you might want to do, let's say if you're writing React, you write something like product from backend.map, and then you want to write option, right? Now in here, okay, sorry, what did I even do? Now, this is the way you write it in React, right? Now here, you would now say value dot brand name. Then while inside here now, you would say the value of this should be value dot underscore ID. Okay. So now, when the user clicks this link to select a brand name, as the user is clicking the brand name, what is being stored to be sent to backend will be the ID of that brand, not the brand name. You will not do brand name here, and then you say the value of that option should also be brand name. That's wrong. You rather want to use the ID here. So when they maybe if there is if there's something like this brand set brand, right? You want to say the value here should be brand, then on change, then you say set brand. Set brand would now be e.target.value. So this is going, this e.target.value, this value here is referring to whatever the value you chose on this select, right? The same thing if you're using like a radio button or a checkbox, right? The checkbox value would be, or the radio value would be the ID of what you're choosing, except in cases where the value you're trying to save on the back end was not already on the back end. For example, if you're doing something like you want to save um the gender of a particular user, you know, you won't save the gender before and request the list of gender, you know, on your front end. The front end will be the one that will have the gender. And so in that case, if you're doing something like a radio button, you can say input, then you say type should be equals to radio. Then you say that the value, you want to say that the value should be equals to male. Then here the value should be equals to female. And then you want to say the name is equals to gender, then here you could say male, here you could say female, right? I'm just giving this as an instance. So if the user chooses, you of course, this is going to render a radio button, right? So if the user chooses male, it's going to maybe you can do something like this. Maybe this was React, you could write something like gender and set gender. Okay. Then here you'd say on change, still the same thing. In fact, if you want to even write, even if you want to even write what am I even writing? What am I writing? Okay, so even if you wanted to just write set gender to be male, yeah, it's still okay. So set gender to be male already, you know here that you just say set gender here to be female. Now, this is different. This is a different case scenario because here, the male and the female, you didn't resave it before on the back end, so they don't actually have an ID, right? So this is different, right? So is there any question on what I've just explained? Is there anybody that has any question? Are you guys following? Or is there anybody that is confused? Okay. So always, anytime you have, maybe you're getting a list from the back end, and then you want to use that list again, or you want to save maybe a reference, right? Just use the ID at once. Make work easy. Okay. Then the other thing we wanted to do was look at paystack. Okay, so let's see. So what were we trying to do with paystack the other day? Okay, we tried to initialize payment. Okay, with a paystack secret key. And then we also tried to use webhook to get that payment, right? Try to use webhook to get the value of that payment. So let's see how we can actually make that happen. So that's /paystack/webhook is a post request. And so for people that do not understand what webhook is, I think I need to explain it again, right? Now, you made a payment, right, to Paystack, and you don't know when Paystack is going to process that payment, right? Okay, so Matilda, you're asking, so the way we write our back end shouldn't necessarily be the way the front end handles it. Yes, 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 it's not necessarily supposed to be, because you're using brand name or you're using a name, the back end will use the name. Like mostly, right? The other properties you're adding to your sorry, the properties you add to your what's it being called, to your record, right? Mainly are just to make the user see or understand what he's choosing or what he's interacting with, right? Because if you rendered IDs for both for example, if I put, where is it? If I did value.id in value and I wrote value.id here, it wouldn't make sense if the user clicks this select and then he sees a drop down of IDs, right? So these things like for example, the brand name here in this case will make the user know, okay, this is the particular brand name or something you want to use. But the back end is going to receive the ID instead of the name, right? And because uh, the ID is always unique, no two records, right, can have the same ID. No two records on a collection can have the same ID. So it makes it ideal for you to always use the ID anytime. So that's one thing. Always try to use IDs. So let's try and see how we can make this happen, right? Let's see how we can test paystack again. So first let me come here. Let me see if I have any secret key. I want to confirm if this secret key is correct. So I'll soon share my screen. I'll have to go to paystack.com. I'll share my screen very soon. I'll share the paystack screen for you guys to see. I just want to log in on my account. Okay, so I think I need to reshare my screen at this point. Okay, so I was trying to explain. Okay, so Matilda is asking, how then does thinking like a user come on the back end side? Okay. So when you're thinking like the user, right? Um, I don't know how to break that down, but when you're thinking like the user, you're thinking about the experience on the user's side, right? But then it doesn't really have much to do directly with you on the back end, right? Mostly is the developer on the back end, on the front end that interacts with the back end, while the users interact with the front end. Okay, so mostly it just has to do with how you're going to design your API, right? To make it favorable for whoever is developing the front end to be able to use easily. right? So that's the short answer to it. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. So mostly, while you're designing your API, you should think about how the developer is going to use it, right? So you might be thinking, okay, for this particular feature, what do you think from the user interface? What do you think uh the interaction would be like? Will it be that, okay, for example, let me give this classic example. When if you're designing a fintech app, right? Maybe an app that has to do with banking, and then you know that the person has to put his account number, or sorry, to choose a bank, to put an account number and to search for that account number, right? So you know that you're going to design an API that will get the bank's ID and the account number of that particular customer for that bank. Then you would return the what's it being called? You return the user detail, maybe the user's name there. Then when the user is about to pay, you also want to check his account before you grant that payment or tell him insufficient fund, all those things. But you're thinking about what the process will be like for the user to reach his final action, right? And then you're going to design your API to meet each of those actions that is going to take till he fulfills his request finally, right? And you're also going to think about how the developer is going to interact with your API. What is his plan? Is his plan to send the account number first before sending the bank ID? Or is he sending the bank ID first before the account number? Or is he sending, okay, is he sending the two at the same time? Right? Okay, for example, for people that are not in Nigeria, right? If you notice, for people that are in Nigeria, sorry, rather, you notice that um you notice that sorry, you will notice that things like or apps like OPay, right? Once you send the account number, it lists the banks that person might be using, and then you can choose one from the list of banks. Okay, but then for some other banks, right? And that's like suggested banks. But for some other apps, you have to send the bank name um, and the bank ID, which is associated with the bank name, and the account number before can get uh that's user's detail. And then when you put in the account number first, the next thing you need to do is render a list of banks for the user to choose, right? So which means there should be something, okay, while that particular page is loading, there should be an endpoint to get the list of banks and keep somewhere. So as soon as the user finish entering the account number and he clicks on the list of banks, it should just show the banks straight. Another way of thinking, another way to consider the client side is when you're doing something like maybe uh let's take for example Facebook, right? Where you can add a post and add pictures to a post, right? You can make a write-up and then add a picture to that write-up. Now, on a normal, right? You could just, when the user maybe chooses a picture, you can just render the picture, and then when the user clicks post, that's when you start uploading the picture and then you upload the write-up. But to make the experience more smooth, when the user chooses a picture, right? As the user chooses that picture, you automatically upload it before the user even clicks on the post button. So when the user clicks on post button, it's just sending the URLs of those pictures to the back end to save it. And then it just looks like as soon as the user clicks post, it just automatically posts. Some people will say, okay, they don't want to automatically send the pictures up, right? So what they do is when you click post, they take you back to the list of feeds, but then the uploading of picture and uploading of that post happens on the background. So they can like spin up in an extra thread, to just handle that upload. Then after that upload is being done, they just send a notification that, oh, your post has been made, and then that thread is being destroyed. Things like that. Okay. So that's well, in a way, it has to do with the front end to how they are going to structure their whole the way their app is going to behave. But you too also need to think like the front end developer too, how he's going to handle this situation and what will his needs be to handle the situation, and then you provide it in your API. Okay. I hope I'm making sense to you guys. I hope it makes sense. Okay, so let's come here. I want to be sure the secret key is the same. So this one is 64. 64 at the end. Nice. Then let me check the one I used. Okay, it's 64. AAB 64. AAB 64. Okay, nice. It's the same. It's the same actually. Then then what do we do again? Then let me check my render.com. So there's this temporary task here. Let me check the environment. So this is still the same, 64, AAB 64. Then this is temporary task.render.com. Temporary task.render.com. So I'm just trying to confirm temporary. So this paste webhook. Okay. Okay, so test webhook URL. This is test webhook URL. Beautiful. Test callback URL. So what you might want to use this callback URL would be for example, you want the user's cart to be cleared automatically after he has finished ordering. So you might want to take him to a page that as soon as he lands on that page, it clears the cart, and then it now shows him payment successful. And then after like 3 minutes, it takes the user back to maybe his cart, or takes him back to his login page, or let's say login page to his home page. Okay. Yeah. So that's what could happen there. Um, then so let me see this. I don't really necessarily need to add an IP address to the white system, but I think I may need to that. Can't remember. I can't really remember. Um, so there is a place that's just like that. Sure. These are the places for IP addresses. So in case I want to whitelist my, I think I can. Okay, so those are the IP addresses. Uh, then another thing I want to do is to initialize payment. Um, so I'm back here. I want to initialize the payment on my local. So I'm trying to initialize the payment of 5,000 naira. And the way we are going to see how that initializing of payments is processed is we'll come here, we'll go to logs, we'll come here to logs. Uh, the backend is actually starting, like it's starting. Okay, so that has been created. I just need to copy the URL and make the payments. What did I copy? Uh, uh, sorry. Okay. So while that payment is successful, we come back here and we wait for pay start response. Okay, so this is where I picked the whitelisted IP addresses. Um, Once you click on connect, you see the IP addresses. So you just pick them one by one and you add them here. You add them. Wow. So, so let me go back to my code. I want to just check something. Give me a second. So this forward slash paste that forward slash words. Webhook. So I think I'll just need to push this code. So you guys just give me a little bit of time. Paste that control, webhook response. So let's come back here. I don't know if they've actually responded. Hmm. So for some reasons, this is not actually just working. So let me do this. Then let me change this back to hmm. I will tell you. So why should that's the same name? Temporary task.render.com. Temporary task.render.com. For this forward slash web. This time forward slash web. So git add, git commit, git push origin name because I don't have time. Let's see. This is supposed to redeploy. So let's just wait and see it redeploy. So after this is 24th of July. I know it's supposed to start. So let me deploy latest commit. I don't know if something happened or so. Let's just deploy the latest commit and then see. We're going to try that paste up payment again. So it's still deploying. A build successful. Then we'll try to deploy. So it will try to deploy. Then I'll try again. Okay, so our service is live. So let me try this again. So while that is happening, let me check my email because it's what I did. It's what I did. It's supposed to send me something. Okay, so for some funny reason, I don't know why Paystack isn't sending um this is a payment, but this is not what I'm expecting. This is supposed to come also, but this is not what I'm expecting per se. Which means Paystack did not send back that webhook. From what I'm seeing, Paystack didn't send back that webhook. And well, I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. Or I don't know if I should just remove all these IP addresses. Just remove all of them. Let me confirm the secret key again. Paystack secret key. Test is B64. B64. Everything is actually correct. So if I try this one last time, it doesn't work, I'll move to Flutterwave and then release it at once. I don't know why this isn't working. Okay, so let's call it a day with Paystack. Let's move to Flutterwave. All right. So let's move to Flutterwave. Uh, so the first thing you have to do is you want to sign in or you want to sign up. Then after signing up, you sign in. So Flutterwave is similar to Paystack, right? But the only main difference between both is that I think Flutterwave has more countries that it supports. It has more countries um compared to Paystack. So you log in, choose your store, um, Thank you. Um, then you want to first go and get your key, right? I think this should be profile. Um, so your API keys, of course, you need to open your documentation. So this is the public key. So mainly the public key is usually used on the front end, while the secret key is used on the back end. So I need to generate new ones. Okay, I actually have live API keys, but I don't want to use them. I have a live account that accepts real payment. Um, let's see what I can do. So first, you need to go to that documentation. You need to first go to that documentation to read about how it works. So use cases. So you can use Flutterwave to build your fintech app. So for fintechs, you can use it to build those, but I want to accept payment. Um, so let's see. What's another break point for breaks the payment processing two steps and handle the result with minimal steps. Hmm. Okay, so let's check the general flow, right? So create and manage customer entity, create payment. Okay, requirements, you have this first you create, no. This is not what we want to do. We want the simple flow. So this one, uh, the payment lets you set up both in a single request. Here it is. Okay, let's see, what do you do? Initialize a charge. Okay, so initiate a charge. You collect the customers, this, and then you send your request to this endpoint. So you send your endpoints, you send your request to this endpoint. Okay. Oh wow. I need to send all this. Choose, you can charge a customer with is okay. Hmm. So you authorize the charge. Okay. So I think this one, I don't know which which of them is required. Another thing you need to try to watch out is what is actually required. What is required? Um, you say there's a tracer ID, which is unique trace ID. There's this content type, then access API access token. Okay. So I'm looking for a simple. I don't know if it's what I'm looking at, honestly, but okay, payment methods. Okay, so I think I'll go to card payments because that's what we want to do. Requirements is okay, so how does it encrypt and send payment details forward? Okay, so Okay, so payments will successfully collect card payments. Follow these steps. Email, name, mobile number at this stage is okay. So I still come here to create a customer. All right. So okay, what they said here is only email is required, but we recommend collecting as much information as possible for future use to fetch existing customer details with treat the customer with customer ID. Okay. This is useful when you're initiating charge for um okay, so let's do this already. Enough of me looking at the screen, staring at the screen. So first thing first, you're going to go and look at the authentication. How do they handle authentication, right? So there is OAuth 2. So FlutterWave utilizes OAuth 2. So how does OAuth 2 work? So let me explain how OAuth 2 works in a nutshell. First, um the application you're trying to log in with, right, is going to ask a body if that body knows you, right? If that body says yes, that body gives your backend a token, which can be used to identify you. And then that token can then be used uh maybe to get your details on the back end, and then those details can be saved before the backend gives you its own maybe access token. Okay. I know it's confusing now. It's more like um it's more like okay, so let's take for example, you want to log into your um maybe a chat app, but you want to log in using Google, right? The first thing that happens is when you click login using Google, a list of accounts comes out for you, right? And then you choose an account. So when you choose the account, that account is being sent to Google, right? That account you choose, right? Details of that account is being sent to Google with the browser's detail. And then Google responds with uh, a token, right? And then the front end receives that token, sends that token to back end. The back end uses that token to extract who is actually uh trying to log in, which is you now. So it would use that token on the back end. It will send it again to Google, get your details. Then it might save your details and then send back an access token for you to use. Or if you already registered, it will just send back the access token for the front end to save and then use. So the similar thing that is happening here. So you need to generate an access token by sending a post request to the token endpoint. You must include your client ID, client secret, and grant type. So this is the same thing that is playing out here. What you have to first do is you send these three things to these three fields to FlutterWave. Then FlutterWave would give you uh it will give you a token, and then you will then use that token to make your payment or to do any other subsequent requests. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it already. Let's do it already. Let's do it already. Um, so we need client ID, client secret, and grant type. So let's come here. Sorry, it's here. Public key, this, and then the grant type. What's the grant type? Grant ID, client secret, grant type. I don't know if the grant type is this function key. Well, so let's try it already. So what they said we needed is they first said we needed to query these endpoints. So they said we needed to query this endpoint. So we just need to restructure this. So this would be a post to this URL. The content type is going to be that content type. And then client ID is going to be that value. The client secrets is going to have its own value. The grant type is going to be client credential. So they already gave us that. So we'll just use it this way. So of course, we already saw the client's ID and the client secrets from my account. So I'll just copy the client's ID, which is the public ID. Then the secret key, I'll copy it. Then I'll try to send that request. Okay, so what is going on? We said it must be an HTTP code. So there's a place I've made a mistake somewhere. Okay, so I put an extra command here. Right? Is that where I made the mistake? Okay, I didn't keep a space between this content type and the body. So let me make that request. Okay. So what's this saying? It's missing form parameter grant type. Okay, that's let's see. So it's missing the grants type. But here is the grants type. It's saying it's missing form parameter grants type. Invalid requests. Okay. And that's quite strange. So let me check here again. Grant underscore type. So let me remove this first. Let me see. Oh, so let me see, let me try this solution here instead. I don't know if that's the problem. So for some reasons, this is not seeing the grants type value. So yes, this is how the headers are actually defined. For example, here we say content type is application slash JSON. Here content type is application slash XFORM URL included. Yes. Yeah, it's not seeing it as a body.